Pokemon FireRed is a great game, but let's be real, it's pretty easy. There's over 350 trainers in the game, but most of them are optional, and the ones you do have to fight are a joke. There are like 2 hard fights in this game. But because I love Pokemon deeply, I'm committed to finding ways of making it frustratingly difficult, and I think I found one that hasn't been done before. I've removed every trainer from FireRed and placed them all in the same location, the Champions Room. Once you click into the champion fight, you must take on almost 400 trainers back to back without ever stopping. No healing, no switching your team, no saving the game. Just taking on over 1,000 Pokemon in a row. This isn't the FireRed you know and love. This is So, how do you even begin thinking about taking on a challenge like this? Like, what Pokemon do I even bring? It's trainer after trainer after trainer after trainer after trainer all the way through the champion. Like, is that like a Charizard thing or like a Blastoise thing? There are seemingly tons of problems we'll run into, but I won't know what those problems are until we actually try. So I think we just have to... In this game, you still get to pick a starter, so I went with Bulbasaur based on, nothing. And then you can literally walk all the way to the Elite Four. There are no trainers anywhere to stop you. Or you can do this in theory, but you actually run into Pokemon in Victory Road that demolish you. So instead, let's use one of those Pokeballs we got from Professor Oak to catch a Pidgey, teach it fly, and fly to the Elite Four. With my level 5 Bulbasaur and a level 2 Pidgey, we can win the first fight, and then the second fight starts and we get crushed. As expected, this did not work. Clearly, we were not leveled up enough. We knew this was gonna happen. There are plenty of wild Pokemon for us to fight, so we can grind on wild Pokemon until our Bulbasaur evolves all the way to Venusaur, and we can get Venusaur all the way up to level 100. Now that we're leveled up, it's time for... Obviously, with the level 100 Venusaur, taking out the extremely underleveled Pokemon in the beginning of the gauntlet is no problem. Any move we use is strong enough to one-shot any Pokemon. We breeze through the bug catchers from the Viridian Forest, and Brock's Pokemon can be destroyed by Venusaur's grass moves. But by the time we reach the trainers from Mount Moon, we run into a problem. My Venusaur knows 4 moves: Vine Whip, Razor Leaf, Solar Beam, and Strength. Each of these moves has a set number of PP, the number of times a move can be used. Together, between all 4 moves, we have 60 PP. Because these moves one-shot, we can get through about 60 Pokemon. Once we get through those 60 PP, we're out, meaning we start using the move Struggle, which does damage, but also hurts us. We can only get through a couple more fights before we struggle ourselves to death, eventually losing to the Rocket Grunt from the Nugget Bridge. This means we didn't even get past Misty. You could watch that attempt and come to the conclusion that the lack of PP was the cause of the failure. But I actually disagree with that. In a weird way, we actually do have enough PP because struggle is unlimited. We can struggle all we want, we just hurt ourselves and run out of health. So really, this isn't a PP issue. It's an HP issue. There are a few ways to heal HP. Obviously, Pokemon Centers are free and unlimited, but because the battles start without any break in between, we can't ever get to one. So the best way for us to heal our health would be potions. If we were to bring a bunch of potions to the fight, we could continue struggling and keep ourselves healthy. The problem is that we don't have any money. The primary method to make money would be to fight trainers, and yeah, that's not an option. We do still get money for fighting trainers in the gauntlet, but because we lose early on, we have to pay all of it back, leaving us with nothing. We do have other options though. In particular, there's one Pokemon we can catch that's a money-generating machine. And if you watch my other videos, you know where this is going. Meowth can be caught on Route 5 with one of the free Pokeballs from Oak, and at level 18, it learns the move Payday. Payday generates money every time you use it, and we can use it on wild Pokemon, giving us a ton of cash and getting Persian up to level 100 too. Using the Payday money, we can now buy Hyper Potions, allowing us to try... Now that I have a level 100 Persian, we make it to around the same area before we run out of PP. I struggle a bit and don't bother using my Hyper Potions here because I still have a fully healthy Venusaur. Venusaur gets through the Route 24 and 25 trainers, Misty, and the Route 9 trainers before running out of PP on the SS Anne trainers. Now, I can use Struggle, but anytime I get low health, I spend a turn healing up Venusaur. When I get to the trainers in Lieutenant Surge's gym though, I do run into a problem with Struggle. Because I only have one move to use, I can't play around any of the nuances of these Pokemon. For example, previously when I face a Pokemon with the ability Poison Point, I can use moves that don't make contact to ensure I don't ever get poisoned. Struggle does make contact, so I can't play around Pikachu's static, and I get unlucky here. However, Paralysis is one of the better status conditions I could get. I don't lose any health or lower my attack or anything, mostly just makes me slower, and I'm still way faster than most of these Pokemon anyway. I can keep going through Lieutenant Surge, the Rock Tunnel, Erica, and the Rocket Hideout, struggling and healing up. After one more rival fight, we must now take on a bunch of channelers who all have ghost Pokemon. Struggle is a normal type move, meaning we would not be able to do damage here. However, Struggle actually deals typeless damage, meaning it totally works on ghost Pokemon. I actually thought we were gonna have a problem here, but we can just keep going. We'll run into another problem very soon. Through the trainers in the tower, Silphco, and into routes 13, 14, and 15, we're cruising through. That is until we reach this black belt, where the game immediately blacks out, despite me still having a very alive Pokemon. Is this a glitch in the game? No. You see, this is not just a black belt. It's actually a black belt and a Crush Girl, who fight you as the Gauntlet's first double battle. It's just the way the fight looks graphically. Because I only had one Pokemon alive, I am not physically able to take on this battle. Because of that, the game just auto blacks out. So now I know I need to keep two Pokemon alive. I also grabbed some full heals for any status conditions. This takes me to... This time, instead of letting Persian knock itself out, I keep it healthy with potions, keeping Venusaur fresh in the back for double battles. Honestly, Persian is a better choice for this anyway, since its struggles do more damage. We keep going through Cycling Road, Gyms 5 and 6, all of the water routes, and Mansion, all with struggle and healing. Taking on Blaine, I flew a little too close to the sun, no pun intended. Rapidash barely survived the struggle, retaliating with a Fire Blast that burned me and knocked out Persian. Thankfully, Venusaur has done virtually nothing this run and can clean up the fight with strength. Venusaur has no problem with the 8th gym and Victory Road, although we do run out of PP and begin to use Struggle. Now it's time for the last 5 fights, the Pokemon League. At this point, Struggle isn't really doing too much damage, it's only 50 base power. Lorelei's Ice Team can do good damage back to me, but as long as I always use healing items before I'm in a range to die, I can avoid the risk. Lorelei definitely takes a bit of powering through, but Bruno and Agatha are both much easier. Lance once again makes things a little tricky. Dragonite deals way more damage than me, but thankfully it can't deal half of my HP, meaning I'm never at risk of a crit. That is not the case for my rival's Charizard, whose Fire Blast can take half of my damage, putting me at risk of dying to a crit and losing the run on the final battle. But I heal up to full every turn and pray for no crits. And because Fire Blast is only 5 PP, we don't have to wait long before Charizard switches to Aerial Ace, and we are no longer in danger. I can take out Blue's final Pokemon, and we have officially beaten every trainer in Pokemon FireRed back-to-back with the same team. All in all, this wasn't too bad. Because we were able to use potions, we were never really at risk, allowing us to use our endless PP to take out almost 1,000 Pokemon. But could you imagine if no items were allowed? Alright, honestly, this was way easier than expected, so let's ramp this up. We were almost completely reliant on items here, so let's try this again with an updated rule set. This time, I am not allowed to use the item function in the battle menu. I'll allow my Pokemon to hold items since they can only hold one thing, but I have to either attack or switch my Pokemon in battle. Without the use of items in battle, my main problem is now my lack of PP. If my Pokemon get to the point where they're using Struggle, I'm basically on borrowed time since I know they'll knock themselves out very quickly. There are moves like Recover that give you HP back, but if I'm struggling, I'm out of Recover PP. So if PP is my main concern, here's my thought process. I want to find the Pokemon that has the highest potential PP across their 4 moves. Let's take our Venusaur as an example. What 4 damaging moves give it the most PP? That would be Tackle with 35, Razor Leaf with 25, Bullet Seed with 30, and Cut with 30. Tackle and Razor Leaf are both level up moves, and the others are a TM and an HM respectively, giving Venusaur a total PP count of 120. That's not bad, but can we do better? What Pokemon have the highest total counts? I looked through every Pokemon available to catch and found the 2 with the highest potential PP. That would be Tentacruel and Farfetch'd. Both can get a total of 140 PP. However, one of them is a better choice than the other. The damaging moves on Farfetch'd are Peck, Gust, Quick Attack, and False Swipe. You see the problem here? Although these are all damaging moves, False Swipe has a special quirk. It always leaves the opponent at 1 HP. This means it actually takes 2 PP to kill everything, undermining the entire point. Tentacruel does not have this problem. Its moveset is Poison Sting, Constrict, Acid, and Rapid Spin, a total of 140 PP, and all the moves can one-hit KO. Rapid Spin being 40 PP is amazing. If I were to get a full team of Tentacruel, that's 840 PP, but is that enough to defeat all the trainers? Things start off amazing. Tentacruel is a strong Pokemon that has no problem one-shotting everything with either a normal or poison type move. None of these moves can miss, leaving no room for RNG. Tentacruel is also a poison type, so no risk of poison point. And it has the Clear Body ability, meaning it doesn't get its attack lowered from Intimidate. With 140 moves, we can make it all the way through the trainers after Misty before we run out of PP. But then we can still use Struggle, getting through almost all the trainers on the SSN before losing our first Pokemon. We have 5 more Tentacruels, but we do kind of have a problem. In order to maximize Tentacruel's PP, we had to take whatever damaging moves got us there, and that includes the move Constrict. Constrict has a base power of 10. It doesn't get a stab boost from Tentacruel's water poison typing, and because it's normal type, it's super effective against nothing. At most, this move has a total power of 10. That was fine when we were taking on level 5 Caterpies, but now that we're getting into Pokemon in their 20s, Constrict is not gonna cut it. A thought crossed my mind that I could use all my Constricts on one Tentacruel, then switch to the next Tentacruel and use up all of those Constricts, making sure to use the weakest move on all the weakest Pokemon. The problem is that I would need to spend a turn switching every single battle, putting my Pokemon at risk to status conditions that would plague them for the entire run. That would be a devastating blow. So I need to go Tentacruel by Tentacruel, forcing me to use Constrict against trainers at the end of the game. This makes move selection absolutely critical. Constrict and Rapid Spin for the weakest Pokemon, Poison Sting for the medium-strong Pokemon, and Acid for the strongest. But even early in the run, Acid is not enough to kill everything in one hit. The downside to having the most PP is that I am certainly not at my strongest. Magnemites and Magnetons are particularly difficult. Their steel typing means poison moves won't work. And the strongest thing I have is a not very effective Rapid Spin, with a total power of 10. This obviously doesn't one-shot, allowing the electric-type Pokemon to paralyze me. This makes me slow and sometimes prevents me from attacking at all. In fact, my third Tentacruel died before even getting to use all of its moves, making the PP optimization irrelevant. This snowballs, and we run out of PP before even getting the 7th badge. I think we're on the right track here, but I need to make some adjustments. First, we can actually increase our PP per Tentacruel. I'm not allowed to use items during the battles, but I can use items before the battles. Meowth isn't just nice for the move Payday, it also has the ability Pickup, which allows it to find items after battles, and one of those items is the PP Up. This item increases the base PP of a move by 20%, and you can use 3 per move. Because this is an unlimited item, we can increase all of the moves on all of our Tentacruels, giving us 224 moves per Tentacruel, for a total of 1,344 moves. This is a huge improvement, but it doesn't solve my Magnemite issue. We still have to fight it with Rapid Spins, unless we want to commit to a different moveset or a different Pokemon. That's when I realized there was something I completely overlooked. When I did my calculation on what Pokemon had the most potential PP, I was using the assumption that one PP could take out one Pokemon. But not all PP are created equal. There are a few moves where one PP can be used to take out multiple Pokemon. These moves include Petal Dance, Thrash, Outrage, Rollout, and Ice Ball. These moves have their downsides though. Rollout and Ice Ball can be used up to 5 times per PP, but they can miss, so that could be 1 or even 0 attacks. The others attack 2 or 3 times per PP, but confuse you afterwards. These moves seem better to me because at the very least, you could guarantee 2 attacks per PP, plus they're generally stronger. But is there a Pokemon that learns one of these moves plus other high PP moves? The answer is yes, thanks to Nidoking. With the moveset of Peck, Double Kick, Poison Sting, and Thrash, we have a PP count of 120. But if you assume each Thrash counts as 2 PP, it has a total of 140, just like Tentacruel. If we use Thrash against trainers with exactly 2 Pokemon, we get 2 uses of the move without ever risking the confusion self-hits. And Nidoking gets us through some of the tricky Pokemon that Tentacruel struggled against. With PP ups, we can make it all the way to the Elite Four with 3 Nidokings still alive. Unfortunately, Nidoking does not have a great matchup in the Elite Four. Lorelei's Water and Ice Pokemon are powerful against my ground type. Lance's Dragons require the strength of Thrash, which puts me at risk to confusion self-hits. And finally, Blue's Alakazam can do massive damage to me, ending my run on the final fight. Not to worry though. Because I got all the way to the Elite Four with 4 Pokemon, I only need 4 Pokemon optimized for PP. The last 2 slots in my team are optimized exclusively to beat the Elite Four. Between Aerodactyl and Blastoise, I can get the best matchups and take out all the Pokemon, beating every trainer in the game back to back without using items in battle. Once again, we've found a path to victory thanks to the sheer number of PP you can manufacture. Thank goodness we have a party of 6 Pokemon. I mean, could you imagine if we only had 1 Pokemon? 400 battles, 1,000 Pokemon without ever stopping. Can it be done by 1 Pokemon without using any items in battle? Obviously, the big concern here is PP. It takes at least 4 Pokemon at absolute max PP to get through all the trainers. So how do we condense that all down to just 1 Pokemon? If we had 1 Tentacruel holding a Leppa Berry, we could squeeze out an extra 10 PP, but once that berry is consumed, it's gone, and we would quickly run out again. But what if there was a way to get that berry back? There's one move that makes this possible, and that move is Recycle. If a Pokemon uses Recycle, it recovers a held item that had previously been consumed in battle. So we should be able to use the Leppa, use Recycle to recover it, and then use the Leppa again. This sounds like it would work in theory, but does it work in practice? First, we need to identify the Pokemon we want to try this with. For better or worse, we only have 2 options in FireRed. Mr. Mime, who learns Recycle at level 33, and Porygon, who learns it at level 44. These are the only 2 Pokemon that can learn Recycle at all. So which of these gets to be our Golden Goose / Labrat to take on the whole gauntlet alone? Well, there's one thing that tips the scale in my mind. At level 20, Porygon learns the move Recover, an option that Mr. Mime does not get. Because we'll need to use Recycle some turns, and are therefore not attacking, we're at risk to losing health on those turns. That means I need a way to stay healthy. For this reason, Porygon will be our sole Pokemon. Can Porygon defeat every trainer in the game with no items in battle? Well, to supplement Recycle and Recover, we've given Porygon 2 attacking moves. I decided to give it 2 of the strongest moves I could. Return for a strong stab attack, and Psychic for the numerous high defense Pokemon that troubled Tentacruel in previous runs. Porygon has good coverage with these moves, and the number of PP of each move doesn't really matter. As soon as one runs out, the Leppa Berry puts it back to 10 PP, and we can recycle the berry to be able to use it again. Everything is going smoothly until I hit the trainers just after Brock. This is where I make a, let's call it an unforced error. I use my last PP of Return, which causes the Leppa Berry to bring it back to 10 PP. Facing a strong Onix though, I don't want to use my recycle turn now, so I wait until the next battle. This is where I learn that recycle only works on items consumed within the same battle. Because technically nothing was consumed, it can't bring anything back, meaning the Leppa Berry is gone forever, and we can't make it much further. I learned my lesson though, and now I'm making sure I always use recycle on the very next turn, to ensure I don't forget to use it. This brings its own problems though. On this Nugget Bridge trainer, I used my final return PP on this Rattata. The trainer sends out its final Pokemon, so if I attack instead of using Recycle, the Leppa Berry will be gone forever. I use Recycle, and Ekans uses Poison Sting, which hits the Poison proc. Devastating. I can recover my health, but I can't ever heal the poison status. It will be stuck like this for the entire gauntlet. I'd rather give up than deal with that headache. Unfortunately, Porygon does not know any moves that prevent status conditions. Mr. Mime does, it learns Safeguard, but it doesn't have Recover. And also using Safeguard at the beginning of every battle sounds horrible. If only there was a move that combined healing HP and status conditions into the same move. Oh, that move does exist? Oh, sick. The beautiful thing about Pokemon is that there is usually a solution to whatever weird problem you're having. And in this case, we can solve our problem with the move Rest, which is a TM in FireRed and can be learned by most Pokemon. Rest solves our problem by both healing our HP and overriding whatever status condition we have with Sleep. The Sleep wears off in 2 turns and boom, status healed. Finally, I'm able to work my way through the gauntlet, recycling whenever I run out of PP and resting whenever I get low health or a status condition. After 100 or so battles, I actually run out of the move Recycle, but this also gets refilled by the Leppa Berry. I just have to use Recycle again to get the berry back. So I'm using Recycle twice in a row. I know if my Recycle is ever at exactly 10 PP from this point on, I am doing something wrong. I've also switched Porygon's Return for Ice Beam just to give me another option in this Ghost Gauntlet, but it's not a big deal. I also have to bring a second Pokemon just so the game doesn't crash me out in double battles, but I bring a Magikarp with Splash so it doesn't really affect anything. I've solved the problem of getting through the game. But now comes the real question. Is Porygon strong enough to take on the entire Elite Four itself? I can heal myself through Rest, but it does force me to sleep for 2 turns. If something can 2-shot me, it's gonna be the end of the run. Thankfully, anyone that I can't 1-shot also can't 2-shot me. We get through every single trainer in the game back to back with 1 Porygon without using any items in battle. Through our struggle victory with Venusaur, our PP maximized victory with Tentacruel, and our recycling victory with Porygon, I've explored the many nuances of Pokemon, finding a way to beat every single trainer in the game back to back to back to back. This was a really fun challenge and allowed me to flex my Pokemon knowledge to come up with solutions for these hyper-specific problems. That's kind of what I'm all about on this channel, so if you enjoy content like that, it would be amazing if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. I just love playing through these games with like weird quirks and specific goals. I mean, like, where else is this team gonna be our best bet? Anyway, thank you so much for watching.